Oh, man. Sorry about that, guys. I was just streaming for like 5 minutes, and that whole time my live stream wasn't even. I wasn't even talking. Oh well. So thanks for tuning in to SBC Western Ohio. I just remembered that you changed your name and you're Evan. I remember you. Yep, there we go. Hello, Central Virginia ES. I remember you're an OG to the channel. You were back in the Blaze Weather days. Yeah, thanks for telling me about Mike was not on. But Western Ohio, Evan, you're looking like you could definitely get some weather. I mean, if you're in Western Ohio, you're probably pretty close to the slight risk of severe storms. So you definitely have some at least severe weather or maybe even tornado potential. Anyone in this area could see an isolated tornado tomorrow. So that's what we're going to dive into today. All right. So we actually do have the first few runs at the HRR loading right now for 23Z. I'm not going to be able to be live really for 00Z coming out, sadly. But it's all right. Do you guys like my new graphic that I made? I was trying to make the briefing graphic, and I decided to add that little thing right above me right there that has the time and a severe weather risk for tomorrow, and this little thingy. Trying my best. I don't know. I think it looks pretty good. I was kind of scrambling to get this live ready. So yeah, basically we're going to look at the 18Z HRR. So we're going to get some big time storms. We're going to see the first signs of at least rainfall development around 10 a.m. pretty close to St. Louis. But if you do check the surface-based Cape, there's not going to be much energy yet in that region. But there's going to be a lot of energy starting to develop. A lot of convective available potential energy developing in portions of Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky regions. And the HRR is supporting that there's going to be enough for some decent severe weather. It's February, and this is a decent amount of instability for this time of year. We're looking at a little over 1,000 Cape, which is definitely enough to support some severe weather potential. Now, there could definitely even be some tornadoes, as a significant tornado parameters levels are decently high across portions of southern Illinois and southern Indiana regions. But yeah, our first cluster, the first band-ish of storms, is probably going to develop here around 1 p.m. time frame. We're going to see they're going to explode. I mean, it's not going to be like this one thing where it's like it slowly develops. No, they're just going to explode all at once, probably right in the early afternoon hours around 1 p.m. in southern Illinois and Indiana. And these could already pose a threat for damaging winds, maybe even some isolated hail real quick. I'm going to check weather-wise, because I haven't checked if there's even a hail threat tomorrow. I've not even looked into that somehow. Let's check. Yeah, there is a definitely a hail threat tomorrow across portions of central Illinois and Indiana, which is definitely what I'm hinting at around 1 p.m. We could see some of those clusters of storms producing some hail. And then once we get later in the day, around 2 p.m., we could definitely see some of these cells being tornadic potentially in portions of central Illinois and Indiana around 2 p.m. And then they do look pretty cluster-like. They're not really individual cells. They're really big clusters of storms, which may bring that tornado potential a little bit lower. But I'm definitely thinking there could be a few tornadoes with this, and with some definite wind and hail damage potentially. 3 p.m. we could see by 4 p.m. These storms could be 3 to 4 p.m. These storms could reach portions of Indiana regions. And then we could see a second mode, which is a little more uncertain. But after this first mode goes by, we could potentially see a second mode of storms, which I'm hinting that it definitely could be a very real possibility. And this one is going to be more of those discrete storms. It won't be clusters of storms like those other ones, and they definitely could have those more tornadic potential. If you do look at around 4 p.m., that environment starts to regenerate. We still have there's that blob where the storms really brought that instability down, but we already have a regeneration of that daytime heating across much of central Illinois and Indiana. What's up, Redbird? Thanks for tuning in. Hello, Electric Tornado Storms. Thanks for tuning into the stream. Make sure to subscribe to Electric Tornado. He's a pretty cool weather enthusiast. You're back. Hello, Western Ohio. But yeah, we will get part of a regeneration of instability. Sadly, that instability, I mean, not sadly, this is a good thing, obviously, but I'm saying if there's going to be tornadoes, then it's going to need a little more instability up there in central Illinois. That's going to be the issue. There's not going to be much instability or as much tornadic capabilities up there in central Illinois with that second mode, but the storms will be a lot more discrete and a lot more supercellular, which will potentially aid to that more tornadic potential in central Illinois. And these storms could potentially develop here around 4 p.m. time frame in central Illinois. Areas like Springfield, Illinois, or Lincoln, Illinois could potentially be impacted by these storms. It could develop further south or further north. I'm aiming a little bit around that to maybe slightly further south. And we could get a few more storms start to regenerate in southern Illinois. That these ones right here could definitely be a little more tornadic because there will still be a lot of instability in the atmosphere. And we could see around 2 in parts of southern Illinois and Indiana. I do also think there's potential that we could see some tornadoes on the southern side near Evansville, Indiana here around 2 p.m. But remember, this is not going to be a huge, major NATO outbreak. There's definitely some potential that we could see some tornadoes. Whether it's very strong or not is not really. These might be more brief, weak tornadoes than not a really strong tornado. I mean, taking into consideration there could be an EF2. I'm just saying that there could be definitely some tornadoes. But whether it's strong or not doesn't matter. But yeah, definitely some storms setting up across portions of central northern Illinois. Indiana in the later afternoon hours, which is definitely more uncertain to know if there's going to be enough of that instability. If it's there could definitely be some tornadoes. If you look at the Helicity tracks, the HRRR is not, it's showing those supercells, but it's not really thinking that central or northern Illinois is going to really see those more tornadic supercells, more of that rotation due to the not enough instability, meaning those storms probably won't be strong enough. They could support some severe storms, but they might not be as strong. And it's really hinting with that instability that we could definitely see the major mode. I do think that this mode in southern Illinois and in parts of Indiana right here has a lot more potential. There's a lot of a higher likelihood of seeing tornadoes there. It's much more uncertain in central Illinois, but if it does happen, then it could be pretty big. But I'm aiming more towards this potential being a lot more likely, because if you look at that, that's the Helicity tracks, which basically tracks the more of that rotation out of the storms. It's definitely hinting at that, or getting pretty close to Indianapolis. So Indianapolis, I would definitely be paying attention there in portions of southeastern Indiana. As you can see, there's definitely a lot more instability there in that region compared to what we are seeing a little later on. But I did also want to mention is the low-level jet will definitely be cranking down in southern Illinois and southern Indiana. Those low-level jet, the 150 millibar winds, will definitely be a lot stronger. They'll be moving a lot faster on the lower levels of the atmosphere, meaning there's definitely more of that spin, more of that tornadic potential down in southern Illinois and Indiana. So if there's any tornadoes, I'm guessing this portion up here is much more uncertain. You see, like it's showing right there, the low-level jet's a lot weaker too in that region. If we move this to where those storms form, it does get a little bit higher, but it's still not reaching much far north enough to really aid much of that tornadic potential in that region. But definitely this area, I'm gonna get a better mark there. Definitely, this area is where I'm thinking the highest likelihood, right between Illinois and Indiana border, is where I'm thinking the highest likelihood of tornadic potential is. Maybe even a little further south, so I'm more broader like that. Probably is where I think the highest tornadic potential is. Remember, this is not going to be a huge outbreak or anything. This just could be where I do think a few tornadoes are possible. Maybe even a weak tornado outbreak. Maybe 6 tornadoes could potentially be possible. It's not out of the question, but there's a lot of fail modes with this, so do not take that into consideration. But what you should do is definitely be prepared. Definitely be prepared in this area and make sure you are weather aware. All right, that's basically mostly done with my talk. If anyone wants questions, I'll still talk more, but if anyone wants to ask any questions, then feel free. All right. You said that. Yeah, I agree with you. There was a lot of hype. I agree with you, electric tornado storms. There was a lot of hype around the system that I'm not really aiding to as much. It definitely downtrended a lot, but this recent H-Z HRRR run kind of uptrended a tad bit back, and I completely agree with you. This is not going to be some huge tornado outbreak where we're seeing some major tornadoes, and it's not a day where we're going to see major, strong, long-track tornadoes. It's just a day where there could be isolated tornadoes in some spots and some weak, brief, maybe on the strong side, potentially tornadoes. I wouldn't say there's not potential of an isolated. I don't know what's going on with my camera, of an isolated tornado, but that I meant. I'm saying, my bad. There's definitely that potential of an isolated strong tornado, just not much above the EF2 level, probably. But yeah, I definitely completely agree. Some tornado warnings, not a huge outbreak, but hey, nothing's out of the question. It really depends on this is kind of an uncertain system, and it really depends on that now casting. Basically, what's going to be going on tomorrow is really what we need to know. If the instability is a lot higher, that tornado potential is a lot higher, we will see more tornadoes versus lower. There's fail modes, but if it does go boom, then it's a boom. So we'll really have to see tomorrow, but definitely be prepared. You're prepared in Central Ohio, awesome. I'm guessing you're probably, if Central Ohio is pretty close to Columbus, so you're in the marginal or slight risk potentially, so yeah, definitely be weather aware. By the time it makes it to your area in Central Ohio, it's definitely going to be weakening a lot more. If we do check the models, it does show it kind of moves more into that weaker storms, more just that rain once we get into Central Ohio in the evening hours. But there definitely is, it's not out of the question that we do see some more stronger to severe storms in Central Ohio. If you do look at the tornadic parameters, it's not as much there in Ohio. It's possible it's not as much not as much there in Ohio, but there definitely is some real instability in Ohio. And if we do get storms developing a little bit earlier on in the day, then it could lead, I mean, it does show some isolated cells developing around 2 p.m. in Central Ohio, so we'll definitely have to watch that too. They're a little bit less certain in Ohio, in Central Ohio. I gotta adjust this. Okay, that's about good. It was being a little weird. All right. Yep, of course. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask. And if anyone else has any questions, feel free to ask me, because I'm open to helping you with anything. Not just severe weather related. We can talk about some other stuff too. I mean, we could get we're looking at some blizzard conditions, maybe in some snow in the backside of this thing. For for Western Ohio weather, it's definitely potential for Evan. It's definitely potential you get some isolated severe weather there too. So I like the fish in the background. Yeah, I don't name any of those. I have like many of them. It's not like just one big huge fish that I have in my tank. I have like 10 different fish, but they're not all huge. There's many of them. And a lot of them like look the exact same. So I would never really remember which is which between the fish, but so they don't really have a name, but yeah. I've got a few different types of fish in there. You can see in the background right there. I'm not pointing right there. Yeah. And fishies. Kind of wish I made my background a little more weather-like. It's just a TV and a fish tank, not as much weather-like, I guess, in that background. Oh, man. Oh, there we go. That's what this camera does. So this camera likes to, right when I put my hand out or something, it likes to just go nuts. Oh. It like auto tracks or something. I'm trying to adjust. There we go. Wait, no. Alright. I think this is good. Maybe a little lower. Oh, this is not easy to adjust. A little bit more this way. Alright. No, a little more this way. Alright. If anybody does have any more questions, feel free to ask. Oh, we get 10 likes on this stream, everybody. Thank you so much. Very well appreciate the support. Let's see what the updated HBAR, if the recent HBAR kind of goes far enough. Okay, so the recent HBAR, we're going to check kind of this region right here. It actually has something very, very different. It has a cell breaking out near St. Louis, pretty decently strong. I mean, it's not really severe because if you look at the instability, let's look at the instability real quick. I live in St. Louis, so I was hoping for at least some storms, but by the time the instability makes it to me, the storms are gone. Look, see, the storms are gone, but the instability's made it to my area. Come on. You know what I mean? Like, but it does show a pretty strong cell breaking out much earlier than what 18Z just has a light shower. So that would definitely break out some more severe potential in the future when the instability's not even that strong there yet. And it's already got an helicity track going through the northern part of St. Louis. So that's definitely something I want to talk about there. A little bit of a stronger storm. I'm biased, though. I live in St. Louis, so I don't think St. Louis is really going to get much, to be honest. All right. No more questions? Okay. Let's go on to weather-wise real quick. We're going to switch screens here to this one. This is just my broad screen I've got. Let's turn this off. One second. I don't know what's going on. Deselect. All right, there we go. So yeah, slight risk of severe storms tomorrow. If you are in any of these areas, be weather aware. Evansville, be weather aware. If you are in Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Dayton, Louisville needs to be weather aware. Owensboro, Decatur, Springfield. Remember, it's a little more uncertain up over here in these regions, or more of these regions. It's more uncertain. A lot more certainty of tornadic potential, definitely in this area right here. Terre Haute, Newton, Princeton, those areas, Effingham, you definitely have some pretty high tornadic potential. I'd say right in that region. If we look at the tornadic probabilities, it's definitely right there, bordering Cincinnati. So Cincinnati, a little less uncertain in Cincinnati, but I'm thinking that the highest tornado probabilities are probably right in this area right here. Where I do think the highest chance of a tornado could potentially be Effingham, Charleston, Terre Haute, Indianapolis, Bloomington is all under this 5% tornado risk. Evansville could see some tornadic potential there too. Centralia, all under this severe weather threat. I also want to mention we do have winter storm warnings from the backside of this storm. We have some winter weather advisories in effect for 2 to 5 inches of snow tomorrow. On Thursday. And we also have a winter storm warning in effect for 3 and 8 inches in parts of Nebraska. Not many people live here, but definitely some weather. I'm not dissing on y'all in Nebraska and Iowa. Sioux City, we could definitely get some snow there tomorrow. 3 and 6 inches of snow in Sioux City areas. So, yeah, definitely a lot of mountain snow. Definitely a lot of mountain snow there in portions of Colorado and Utah. Is definitely coming. Definitely much relief because these mountain areas in Utah and Colorado, they're seeing the worst snowpack on record right now. And they're definitely seeing some more relief. It's not going to make much efforts to this. It's definitely going to help, but it's not going to go nuts to help on this. But we could definitely get some snow here in the Colorado mountains. Utah, I'm a skier myself, so this is definitely pretty cool. I don't live there, though. Sadly, I'm not going on vacation for this. I've already been on vacation. But, yeah, California, Utah, Colorado, definitely going to help on that snowpack and that drought there for the skiers, too, as we're going to get some pretty big snowstorms over the next few days. We could actually get a little bit of, or I guess we're already seeing that snow. A few inches of snow here in Albany, New York. All right. So what did you say, Redbird? You said, how do I get that much views? Do you want to hit your channel almost all your subs and see your video or the live stream? So basically, I don't know. I just consistently post. I'm still working on my subscribers, but I really just constantly constantly post weather stuff. I post every week. That's the best way to start gaining views, is just consistently posting and improving on your videos. Also, I think with your channel a little bit, I'm not hating on you or anything, but you had other videos that weren't related to weather, and people subscribe to you for those videos, and you kind of have to have a niche with your channel. So if you're going to want to make weather videos, then you should only make weather videos on your channel. Because if you're making other videos and those videos blew up, then you start making weather videos, those people subscribe for your other stuff, not your weather videos. So they're not going to watch those weather videos because they don't care about that stuff as much as they care about those other videos. So if you want to stick to those other videos, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying if you want to stick to mostly weather stuff, then that's kind of how the way you have to do it, and maybe make a different channel if you want to post non-weather related content. And you just should stick to your niche and stick to that, specifically just weather videos, because that happens a lot, where you post videos that blow up, but they're not related to weather. So someone subscribes to you. So a bunch of people subscribe to you, but they're not really looking for your weather information. So those ones don't get nearly as much views. So yeah, I hope that helped. Yeah. Let's look at the NAM 3 kilometer. That's what I really want to check out. We're gonna go. I don't know if you guys like this version a little better. I think I'm gonna stick to this one. But the NAM 3 kilometer 18Z, I know these storms look really weird, but this isn't really what you should do when you're looking at the NAM 3 kilometers. You shouldn't really look at the composite reflectivity, because NAM 3 kilometer is very linear biased, and they like to show linear storms. It's definitely showing less of that clusters, but they do a terrible job at showing single cellular storms, as you can tell. These cells, they look so weak and tiny, and that's kind of how the NAM 3 kilometer is with a lot of their stuff. The NAM 3 kilometer has more storms potentially for St. Louis. Puts the severe weather threat a little bit more towards the St. Louis area in the afternoon. I'm not buying it as much because most weather models aren't really hinting at that, and they haven't been hinting at that. St. Louis, it's not a question that you do get a severe storm, but I think it's definitely less likely there. But one thing with the NAM thermometers, they're not. This is the potential fail mode. They're not really showing as much instability. It's barely reaching 1,000 joules per kilogram, and it's a lot further back too. That dry line is a lot further back, meaning you get more storms further towards the west. But it's definitely showing that northern mode has barely any instability at all. So that's why there's a lot of uncertainties with this potential severe weather threat. It is showing those parameters are a little bit higher there, but there's definitely some uncertainty still with this threat. But no matter what, I do think we're going to see a few tornadoes tomorrow. That's what I do believe. I do believe there's potential we see a few tornadoes with this system tomorrow. NAM 12KM does a little bit better on the instability, but we're not going to look at that model as much because it's not as high resolution. I would want to look at the RRFS. I mean, this model kind of sucks, but we're going to look at it. RFS definitely has a lot more instability. RFS is definitely doing a better job at showing that instability. It has a lot of instability breaking out in central Illinois and Indiana, up to 1,300 joules per kilogram of CAPE. So there's enough energy to support some pretty big storms. And it shows that with some really big storms developing right in that area that has the reason why I'm thinking the tornadoes are highest threat. I think tornadoes could happen anywhere in this area. But the reason I have the highest tornado threat right here is because there's the most consistency on the model showing that there's going to be enough instability and enough energy to support tornadoes in that area. And it's definitely showing that on the RFS too. But the RFS isn't really showing that second mode in portions of central or northern Illinois as the other model is showing. If we look at the significant tornado parameter, it's not as much there on the RFS. But look at those helicity tracks. The RFS is definitely hitting. We're going to see rotating storms tomorrow in that specific area in central Illinois and parts of Indiana. So, yeah. Hello, country. Country angel for life. All right. Your friend is from Indiana. Yeah. Indiana definitely could get some severe storms in parts of Indiana. If they're in northern portions of Indiana, it's definitely less likely up here. But if they are in central or southern Indiana, most of Indiana is under the severe weather risk. So wherever they are in central or southern Indiana, they should definitely be weather aware for some potential severe weather, and maybe even tornadoes if they're closer to Indianapolis or down towards Bloomington or Evansville regions. You were a mod for me a while ago? Yeah, I remember that. I will probably mod you again too. I don't mod very many people just because yeah, I do remember. I don't mod very many people. I don't know why, to be honest. I haven't done very much streams recently, but I'm getting back into the streams now because severe weather's starting up, so I'll start modding more people, especially when there's severe weather events coming. Looks like Brandon Montgomery's getting ready for this weather potential tomorrow. But many of the chasers are starting to get ready. We've got Brandon Cobbett getting closer towards this weather threat tomorrow. You said you've got some people you know in Northeast Indiana. So Northeast Indiana, I'm guessing more towards maybe Fort Wayne regions, pretty close there. It's definitely a little bit less. They're really on the northern side, so there's going to be a lot less instability up in Northeast Indiana, but I can't rule out an isolated severe weather potential, but that tornado threat is definitely a lot more minimal in further Northeast Indiana. If it's down towards Marion, a little bit of a higher threat, but still more towards southern areas down here, I think, is the highest. Or central and southern Indiana is a much higher tornado threat. Back on the grind, yep. You told ChatGPT to roast Y'allbot. It was crazy. Wow, yeah. I remember those Y'allbot roasting people. That was funny. I think Hall Y'all must have fixed that by now, because I've not really heard much about it recently. The RFS definitely hints at that second mode. It doesn't hit it at the second round. the second mode up here, but it does hint at that second round potential. I think both rounds could have tornadic potential. It does hint at that second round with that regeneration of instability in southern portions of Illinois. I think this area in Illinois has the highest tornado threat, in my opinion. We get a resurgence of instability right there, and boom, we get some more supercells developing with tornadic potential. So that's where I do think we have a more higher tornado threat. Redbird, I may mod you in the future. I'm not going to mod anyone right now, but I might go live tomorrow. We'll see about that. I think I do get home. I won't get home from school till like almost 4 o'clock. So the weather will already be occurring by then. So yeah, I might start a stream. We'll see about that. We'll see if I'm able to. I might have homework, so I hope I'll be able to start a stream. So yeah, if I will, then I will definitely mod some of you guys. So yeah. Oh yeah, Electric Tornado Storms looks like he's premiering a video right now. Make sure to check that out, guys. You should subscribe to him. He's an upcoming weather enjoyer, upcoming meteorologist. So I do want to mention this backside of the storm, this backside area of snow that we could get. Once this system does develop, we will see some backside snow develop in central Nebraska and even central Iowa. Parts of areas, the HRBR is going very heavy on this. Seeing central Iowa gets a lot of snow and some very heavy snow on the backside of this low pressure. The low pressure will be nestled right around here with those severe weather, those storms impacting these areas, and we'll see those backside snow like a typical low pressure system. We see the backside snow. We see the cold front. So we see this backside snow right here. Potentially, sometimes it's a blizzard, depending on how strong the low pressure is. And then we see that low pressure nestled right there, and then we see those isolated tornadoes over here. This is typical of a February or March low pressure, and we see those storms right there, and then we see that cold front or dry line setting up across these areas as those storms develop, and that instability surges in from the Gulf of Mexico while that dry air is pushing in from the backside, associated with that those fires that we were seeing a few days ago out in Texas, or yesterday in Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas areas that we were seeing associated with those strong winds and those very, very low relative humidity, those very, very dry air that is pushing in now to really set up for this severe weather event. Now, this looks like a perfect severe weather event for weather, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that brings this tornado threat lower. But besides that, this is definitely why we're going to be seeing this severe weather threat. Just kind of wanted to explain that a little more. I do want to check the surface winds that we are seeing with this system. Okay, I was like thinking, is there going to be a blizzard with this thing or no? Because the backside of these sometimes see blizzard conditions, but it's definitely going to be windy, but it's not going to be gusting to extreme weather levels like that. The National Board of Models is hinting at potential for 3 to 5 inches of snow, maybe 2 to 4 inches of, I'd say probably 2 to 6 of broader range, because the models are uncertain. 2 to 6 inches of snow in central Iowa. Des Moines could see some of this. Southern Minnesota and portions of western Wisconsin could see some snow. Then central Nebraska sees kind of the bullseye of up to 8 inches. With this, nothing huge, but definitely some potential snow that we are going to see from this system. Looks like the 000 HR bar is just now starting up. I'll be ending the stream probably by around 7:18-ish, probably, and we'll have to end the stream. But yeah, if you guys do have any questions, make sure to ask. You say it is Iowa expecting NATOs now. Nope. Just some snow on the backside in areas like Des Moines, but Des Moines, Iowa's going to be a little too far north to see any tornado potential It's still February, but trust me, once we get later in the months, closer to main springtime, and we're going to be definitely setting into that tornado potential in Ohio. I did want to mention what the HCZ was showing is once we get this cold front that rolls through, right after this cold front runs through, it's going to get real windy across central Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. Areas like St. Louis, Springfield, Illinois, Indianapolis. This backside after these storms roll through, it's going to get cold. It's going to get really cold, guys. And we're going to see these tornadoes, and then it's going to get a big-time cold front that crosses through. And it could be gusting up to 45 miles an hour in some spots in central Illinois. If you look at the blend real quick, the blend does not show that, so maybe it's HRR bias, but it's definitely going to be more on the windy side once this cold front runs through. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an isolated 40 miles an hour gust in some areas. What's Iowa expecting? Iowa's just expecting some snowfall with this system. Like areas like Des Moines could see some isolated snow, but nothing too crazy. And it's going to get cold there in Iowa. Friday morning could be in the negatives in parts of Iowa. But yeah, once this cold front comes through, it's going to be 72 degrees in St. Louis, 67 degrees. Don't say 67. 67 degrees in Springfield, Illinois. Indianapolis, 65. And then boom, the clashing cold front comes through, and it's gonna feel like 21 degrees Friday morning. And it's gonna feel like 13 in St. Louis. It was 72 degrees. It's gonna be 72 degrees at 2 p.m. on Thursday, and it's gonna feel like 13 by Friday morning. So, and this fall spring is gonna make you think, oh, it's all warm, but nope, it's gonna get cold. This cold front, it's gonna be 9 degrees, 10 degrees in Kansas City. That's what it feels like, not the real temperature. Just the wind chill, the chill it brings from the wind. 15 degree feels like in portions of Illinois. So yeah, that's what's going to come through. Pretty wild system that is going to be occurring with this weather. Yep. One second. So yeah, we'll definitely have a decent amount of chasers that will be coming in tomorrow. So you guys could watch that on YouTube. There'll be some chasers setting up. Just trying to check if anybody's made any updates on Twitter about the weather threat. Alright, it doesn't look like it. Alright. Cat fell asleep on you? Yeah, some very heavy mountain snow in portions of the Colorado Mountains. If you look into the future, I did want to mention something. Here's what I'm going to mention. We're looking at, we could see this is showing a nor'easter, guys, in portions of the Northeast. Now, this is very, very uncertain. The models are not agreeing at all with this thing. But it's definitely a real signal that someone's going to get a dumping of snow tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, what am I saying? Monday, Sunday or Monday. So yeah, it's definitely not too far away, but it's far away enough to where it's uncertain because, winter weather is impossible to track. But this thing will develop, and it's showing some big-time snow in parts of the Mid-Atlantic and South Northeast, bringing some big-time snow. That model shows 20 inches. Now, do not take any of this seriously. This is just a model run. Everyone's going to be posting crazy on it on Twitter. A massive 30-inch snowfall winter storm. The world's going to end. No. They're overreacting. Do not take that seriously. Do not take this seriously. This is one model run. The models go nuts. All we know is there's going to be a winter storm and something's going to get a dumping somewhere. So anyone in the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic should definitely be watching this system. The Euro has a lot less. See what the Euro shows? The Euro 18Z just has 4 inches, 3 inches of snow. Euro shows, that's why we don't have a lot of uncertainty. Euro only shows 2 inches of snow. We'll get more uncertainty once we get closer. We do check the blend of models real quick. The blend of models is showing this real winter storm signal. It's not showing a lot, but it's showing this real winter storm signal. Pretty close to New York City, New Jersey, areas like Maryland, Delaware areas potentially where it's definitely showing this signal. So there's definitely a lot of uncertainties with this system. We really don't know what exactly is going to happen with this system right now. But yeah, I just saw a comment, Redbird. Yeah. Yeah, definitely a real snow signal. I mean, I feel like there's not been a single nor'easter forever, it feels like. And this is a real signal of it. The Canadian goes absolutely nuts with this one, showing a 960 millibar system. That's like a hurricane with snow. Look at these wind gusts. It's got like 80 miles an hour gusts. That's nuts. So basically what this gets away for you is that this does not at all mean that we're going to see a major... Oh my gosh. There we go again. Our camera's going nuts. I raise my hand up and it tracks me instantly. This does not at all mean we're going to see a extremely dangerous world's going to end winter storm where you instantly need to get bread and milk. What this means is that sorry. What this means is basically that parts of the Northeastern Mid-Atlantic is going to see a winter storm. Someone's going to see snow. It could be a really weak winter storm where someone sees barely anything, where the areas see barely anything. There's a lot of uncertainty with this thing. There's going to be a lot of hype around it as the models are going nuts. We'll get more information when we get closer, but there's a lot of model discrepancies, and there's a way where this thing is a weak storm instead of a big storm. So really don't know yet. All we know is there's a real snow signal in this area right here, and you should be weather aware in this area for some snow. I know you guys are probably done with the snow and tired of it. I bet you would be. But, because if this happens, then it's going to be like, boom, snow on the ground through March. Did I sound like Evan Freiberger for a few seconds? Okay. Yeah. Evan Freiberger. I've always seen that guy posting, hating on everyone's thumbnails on Twitter. All I want to say about that is I agree. Posting super hyped thumbnails with red blobs across the country saying, oh no. It makes way too much hype, and I do it. That's why I'm saying that, because I do it. I make it on all my videos, but I'll tell you what, thumbnails are so important, because they get you all the views. And this is the only way to get views. It's the only way someone's going to click on your video if you have that crazy blob thumbnail. So, hey, it might create hype, but if you watch the video, then it tells you everything you need to know. So the thumbnail doesn't really even matter then. It just gets you to click on the video. That's all it really does. So that's my own personal opinion. But yeah, Evan Freiberger is a pretty good YouTuber. I'm not putting any hate on him. But he does like to hate on some other YouTubers. Yeah. Storms in Canada. Alright, let's see if the 18Z at Trabar is updated anymore. Why is there a cell? Okay. That was so weird, because the Trabar is showing big storms in these areas, and those look tornadic potentially. But then if you look at the instability, it's not even there. So I don't think there's going to be much of that. It's like the day one outlook. It's just a general risk. So yeah, I don't know. That was weird. It's a little weird. Trabar is showing some severe weather. Not any instability though. So it's just saying that. But yeah, come on, Trabar, update faster. We're only 10 hours out. We need to be at 18 hours out to get the start of this info. So this is going to be a little bit of a wait. Sorry, I'm about to go. Excuse me. I'm going to have to go in about 10 minutes too, so yeah. If anybody doesn't have any more questions, feel free to ask. All right, 1 second. Give me a minute, guys. I gotta plug in my phone real quick. All right, so we've been live for about 50 minutes. That was pretty awesome. This is a pretty awesome stream. I think might be like one of the longest briefings I've done. Yeah. Come on, 0Z, update. It's going so slow. One thing, let's check if the 18Z has more. There's a little more instability on the southern side, though. It's more further south. That's what I do want to mention. Let's check the pressure, the low pressure, to see if it's anywhere different. Like 18Z. So it's shifted a little bit further towards the south and east. That's what I would want to mention. It's moved a little bit further south. Not too much of a change, but enough to bring that severe threat maybe slightly further south. Maybe a little bit less instability as far north. So we'll have to watch that. I'm not sure if this will put much into the data. One thing I will say is that it's already showing a decent amount of instability. It's showing it further south, but it's definitely showing more instability further south. This is only 6 in the morning, so it's definitely a real sign. I don't know what's going on with the 0Z. It's showing cells developing out here with helicity tracks, with little rotating thunderstorms. I'm not putting any buy. I'm not buying it because there's like no instability with it, so definitely not buying that. I don't think these will be strong cells. All right. So yeah, the last thing I've basically talked about everything. I don't know why. Okay, all right. We're right. I basically talked about everything I needed to mention. We're going to say the last thing for any new viewers. Slight risk of severe storms in effect. There we go. Slight risk of severe storms in effect across Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, a little bit of Missouri. For any of these areas, definitely be weather aware. You need to be watching this and be hyper prepared tomorrow in the early afternoon hours. First mode, early afternoon in these main tornado threat in these areas. Second mode, a little more tornado potential over here in the later afternoon hours. And then mode up here, a lot more uncertain, but will occur in the late afternoon to early evening hours. A lot more uncertain with this one, though, if that will happen at all, which I really don't know. But most models are saying there's not going to be enough instability with this one. So, yeah, all I do know is there could be an isolated tornado up in this area, too. Up more in this area, there could be an isolated tornado with that. Yeah, if you're anywhere in the Seattle region, be weather wired tomorrow for some severe weather and tornadic potential. You could also see some hail, so make sure you have your cars protected. This 5% tornado risk, Includes Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky. If you're in that red area, definitely be weather aware for some tornadic potential. So yeah, Indianapolis, Terre Haute, Bloomington, Evansville, Louisville, Cincinnati, Springfield, Illinois, all need to be weather aware for severe weather potential with this system. So yeah, you said, will you be in the enhanced risk? Yeah, I don't know if the SPC is going to pull the trigger on an enhanced risk. I'm not saying it's hugely out of the question that they put an enhanced risk. If they did put a 10% risk of tornadoes, I would think they would make a 10% unsig, maybe right here. Maybe an isolated 10%. It's not out of the question, but due to uncertainties, I think they'll probably just stick to 5% chance. I'm just saying it's not going to happen. They're not. I don't think Western Ohio is going to get a enhanced risk. I don't think your area is going to see an enhanced risk in Western Ohio. I think a slight risk is perfectly fine there. But yeah, enhanced risk is not completely out of the question. But I'm thinking that they're doing the right thing by just keeping it at a slight risk, with a tornado watch though being issued, and a higher end slight risk at least. But that SPC category should not change your way of weather awareness at all. Already noticing a little more instability in southern Illinois than earlier with this updated run. Definitely some differences in the instability. Oh, wow, yeah. So the HRR 00Z already by 9 a.m. It's showing a lot more instability in the last run, showing nearly 1,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE in that main area that I am thinking we see the most tornadic potential with this. Right in that area in portions of southern Illinois and western Indiana, southwestern Indiana regions. So it's definitely already showing that hint at that higher instability levels where we could see some tornadic potential. It's already shown at 11 a.m. that we do see a cell pretty strong up here. This would be a lot stronger in St. Louis if it happened a lot later in the afternoon. Instead, it's going to come through at 11 a.m. I keep saying I want storms. I don't want tornadoes, but I just at least want to see a thunderstorm. I mean, it's been probably forever since I've seen a thunderstorm, but it's not looking that likely in St. Louis. But yeah. See how the pressure is. So yeah, the pressure is the low pressure is definitely going to be. It's definitely further south than it was, and that could hint at we do see more stability, more confined further south. As it's showing there, this is a huge uptick in instability. This could lead to much more tornadic potential. This is 10 in the morning, and we've already got nearly 1,500 CAPE in southern Illinois and southern Indiana. So what I'm saying is there's definitely more of a severe weather threat, and this is showing a higher end on the new 00Z HRR for tornadic potential that we are watching. So definitely be weather aware. This could be a boom or bust event, guys. There's fail modes, potentially less instability, less tornado parameters, less dew points with this. If we do look at the moisture, that's one thing I really never mentioned. This whole stream, I forgot to mention the dew points. That the dew points are going to struggle a little bit. It's going to be enough to support severe weather, but it's going to be hovering right around that 58 to 60 degree level. So that is one of those things that's bringing this tornado threat a little bit less. But that's why there's potential fail modes with that too. So it's going to be really a nowcasting event tomorrow to see what the parameters are looking like tomorrow in the morning and afternoon to see what this threat could potentially be, and boom or bust potential, but be prepared for weather no matter what, and be prepared for potential tornadoes in Illinois, Indiana, as I do think a few tornadoes are likely, or possible or likely. Come on, HRR, it just doesn't want to update. Come on. Wow, look at this 00Z HRR, way more instability than usual. What you do notice is it's definitely further towards the south than the last model, but Doesn't really change much, but a lot more instantly. We're seeing nearly 1,600 Cape in southern Illinois and Indiana. That's much more energy for some big-time thunderstorms. Big-time thunderstorms. So yeah, really real threat with this that we are watching. I did also want to mention very, very low relative humidity levels on the backside of this thing. Missouri, portions of Kansas, and even areas in Oklahoma, very low relative humidity levels could definitely lead to some fires. If you do look at the wind speeds, it's going to be gusting pretty decent. So fire's going to occur. Make sure you are taking your precautions there and not igniting anything, because the dew points are going to be very low. It's going to be very, very dry out here. If you look at the relative humidity, it's going to be pretty low, 14% there. So after this front of moist air comes through, there's going to be a big dry line. So we're going to see a lot of dry air on the backside of this thing come through that could lead to some fire potential. So definitely do not be. It's definitely pretty favorable for fires. So do not be igniting anything tomorrow, especially down here in Texas. My goodness, it's always so dry out there in Texas. Wow, yeah. Updated HRRR. Boom. It's a lot less clustery. It's more clustery in northern Indiana, but boom. That's a big time. That's a big time scenario right there. It's got very, very strong storms. It doesn't show much of this mode as much developing. A little bit of a cell over here, but it's got some very strong storms. It's actually hailers, very strong storms in that area. I'm predicting the highest tornado threat to be. And wow, look at that. Definitely an uptick. Big time velocity tracks. It's really showing this path right here. This area right here has got that highest tornado potential. Central Illinois, Indiana, for some tornadoes with this system. So if you're anywhere in this slight risk of severe weather, make sure you are weather aware tomorrow. Tornadoes are possible. And stay safe and always be prepared, as a few tornadoes are going to be possible with this system. Hope you guys did enjoy today's stream. Make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube and turn on notifications, because I may be live tomorrow, and I will likely have a video out this weekend. So, yep.